Hello, good morning, and welcome to our seventh edition of Apple Insight Session by Lab9 Pro. Today we have a new topic, and of course we had WWDC of DubDub. That's actually the name they give it internally, of all the new features in Apple. And today we're gonna have a deep dive in all the new things that has been announced last Monday at WWDC. Today, we have our guest speaker, Jody Thierry, here with us. He's Apple Solution Architect at Lab9 Pro, and he prepared a lot of insights about WWDC. So sit back and have a view on the new topics of new tools that's going to be integrated in the new software of iOS, macOS, iPadOS, watchOS, tvOS, and visionOS for the guys who have an Apple Vision Pro. Shorty, I'm gonna hand over the presentation to you. If you have any questions at home, please send them through our question box. Then we can answer those questions by the end of the webinar. The webinar is also recorded and it's going to be available on our YouTube channel by this afternoon. Shorty.
Welcome to the seventh edition of the Apple Insights webinar. And before we dive into the slides, Zeno, did you get bored during the keynote?
Yeah, a little bit. I thought I lost 1 hour of my life.
I was up till I think 2 a.m. because after the keynote you have the State of the Union and then all the other videos came up. And I was hoping for a maintenance release, so I wasn't bored. But so let's dive in. And before we get to the actual topic, let's take a look at WWDC. Since COVID, this has always been a pre-recorded video, so it's not really happening live, but Apple does invite developers to attend in person. And I've been participating in the ticket lottery for the past 5, 6, 7 years or so, and I still haven't been invited, unfortunately. I think it's a fantastic opportunity to roam around Apple Park, connect with peers and leadership. So for the persons that have a developer account, every year just enroll, and who knows, you get invited to Cupertino. The actual attendees get a goodie bag as well, right? And I think it's nice that they give something out. I saw things being sold on eBay already, and they go up for quite a lot of money. People who attended get a goodie bag, so a tote bag that seems to be a yearly staple. So is a water bottle, some cool pins, some stickers, and the attendees actually got invited to watch a screening of The Mandalorian and Grogu in the Steve Jobs Theater this year, which I think is a really unique experience to do. Um, Enough about that. Let's take a look at the actual event, right? The actual keynote. Very atypical from Apple, where in years past they had specific OS announcements. So for iOS, iPadOS, etc. This year there weren't really specific things per OS. They announced 3 pillars that they focused on this year. Those are platform improvements, trust and safety, and Apple Intelligence. And we're going to go over those 3 pillars together. Now, before we do, the most important slide of this webinar, I guess, is please beta test. Your feedback is very important. You need to validate your critical workflows. You need to check if you are ready to run OS 27 when it releases, right? And everyone with a managed Apple account, so everyone with access to School Manager or Apple Business, can participate in the beta program via beta.apple.com. You preferably on a test machine, not as I'm doing on a production machine. So if my webinar crashes, we'll blame it on macOS 27. But you need to validate your flows, right? And for us here internally at Lab9, I'm happy to say our CRM works, our security software works, our VPN works, but those are all things that you need to focus on. There are testing plans available. You can provide feedback, and Apple actually listens. So it's very important that you do that. All right. So OS 27, Apple has a running joke about their crack marketing team going on an exploration quest to find a name for the new OS. And for macOS, that's Golden Gate, so referencing to the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. The 3 pillars again, let's dive in with platform improvements. And this is really, like I said, a maintenance release, right? They aren't really introducing many new features. Instead, they're focusing on making everything smoother, faster, even older devices. So you will notice, and even on beta 1, which usually is a bit slower, you notice that the system is more responsive. Apps launch faster. The search engine was completely rebuilt, and so you get results faster as well. You have on mobile faster switching between Wi-Fi and cellular, which should also aid with your battery life. And specifically for older devices, there's a new CPU scheduler that's already available on the newer iPhones that will make your device more responsive even in older systems. So that's really nice to have. Apple threw in some numbers, and like this is a boring slide for most people. I get it, but 30% faster app launches. It's great. Window switching on iPadOS, great. Faster AirDrop recipient discovery. These are all very good quality of life improvements, right? And they shared a lot more slides like this. I'm going to throw in one more, which was 80% faster. AirDrop transfers, and I've tested it. It works. It's actually faster. Faster message loading in mails, PDF saving. If you do that on a daily basis, those numbers add up, right? So you're going to save a lot of time, and the system just feels much more responsive. There were also some design improvements. Liquid glass was optimized, and you now have this very nice slider that you can make it more or less transparent. And it's kind of odd that Apple needs to specify consistent rounded corners and a uniform toolbar as a feature, but it does make everything look much more polished. And since the last two OS releases, they could have spent a little bit more on that regard. So it's nice that everything is coming together again. Second pillar was trust and safety. And this is all about your children, right? This is focusing on child safety, which improvements to child accounts, improvements to parental controls, a new time allowance feature where you can allow time to certain groups of apps for your children. And as a parent, I gave my 4-year-old an iPad. I know I shouldn't have done that. He loves it. And being able to manage that a little bit better without enrolling it into an MDM, which is just too much, is a nice thing. So Apple really wants to help you with what kids can see, who they can talk to, when they have access, and how parents can guide their children. So you have features like ask to browse, right? You can set a certain amount of URLs your kids can browse to. And if they want to go outside of that, they need to request it and you get a message on your device. And the same goes for screen time, right? So we already had that. It's getting better. So you can allow time for certain apps, even in certain schedules. So you can allow things during school time and then during after school time. Um, it, it, the more management you can do in that regard, the more you can safeguard your kid from any bad stuff. Same with message screening, right? So if by accident there would be some nudity or so sent to the kid, it will be blurred, it will not be able to be accessed, and that's just good to know, a relief as a parent, I guess, to have that. That was the first part of the keynote. And the second part of the keynote was all about Apple Intelligence and the new Siri. Apple announced the new Siri in 2024, and now it's here. So that's cool. It's a deep collaboration with Google. So some stuff is working together with Gemini. And I've heard a lot of chatter. It's not Gemini running on your phone. It's still Apple models. It's on still private cloud compute if it goes outside of your system. It's still privacy first. It still focuses on on-device models where possible, right? But you gain a lot of things that weren't possible before. So if we zoom into that, and I really like this one, personal context is amazing. You can just say to Siri, like, I was talking to my mother about this present for Father's Day. Remind me what I was talking about when I was talking about it, and it will pick that up. You can ask about a message you received a while ago. It understands the context that you're working in. Similarly, if you would call someone, like for example, I call Zeno and it would be his birthday, my phone will remind me that it's his birthday, even though I'm just calling about marketing stuff. So it has that context and it can help you in that regard. When you have that context, you can now do more app actions, which is also nice. So we could already say, call this person or do this, but now you can ask Siri to undo send an email, share your ETA. You can create notes. It can do FaceTime calls and a lot more. And there are tools for developers to tie into this, right? So more and more apps will be able to tie into the app action system, which is very cool. And it already works fairly well. And then the big one, on-screen awareness, right? You already could do this somewhat, but now if you're looking at something, you can ask Siri what you're looking at. And then when it's defined that, you can take action on it. So if you're looking at, for example, a poster of an event that's happening, you can ask it about the event. It will pull up the data about that event, and you can then say, put it in my calendar, for example, which is very cool. The Photos app got an upgrade as well. We could already do cleanup, that got an upgrade. We can now also extend and reframe pictures, and I'll try to live demo that a little bit further in the presentation. But these are nice tools, right? Like your iPhone gets a lot of depth info from the picture, so now you can use that depth info to reframe it, and then it will fill in the rest of the picture. It works very well, even in beta 1, so that's very cool. There was only one bento box throughout the whole keynote, and I looked last year we had 9, which can say something. But this highlights the new features that are coming to your devices. So you have broad world knowledge. You can write with Siri. We already knew that. One that I personally really like is the Apple Intelligence in the Home app. So if you have cameras, you could get like 20, 30 notifications about someone walking up to your door with a parcel. Now it will summarize that into one. Which is nice. You can do automatic password upgrades. So if you have a leaked password in your passwords app, you can remediate that automatically. And I'll try to demo that as well. Improvements to image playgrounds, dedicated Siri app, all good stuff, right? And there's a lot more where that came from. Workout Buddy got smarter. You have suggestions that are actually better or actually useful in Mail now. Same for folder and file naming suggestions. You have suggestions and messages on text you can send. You can describe an event in Calendar and it will do the appropriate stuff. You can create your own shortcut just by telling what you want to do, and we'll try that in the live demo as well. And these are just a lot of small refinements, small things that get added to the system that are really using AI in a meaningful way, right? And then at the end of the keynote, there was another sad announcement. Siri AI, unfortunately, is not coming to iOS or iPadOS in the European Union due to regulation issues. We are getting it on macOS. Now, I'm not gonna express my personal opinion on the DMA. That's something for another time. But if you want info on what Apple's stance is on this, you could scan the QR code on your screen right now, and it'll take you to the Apple newsroom where there's an article on what Apple tried to do to make this conform to the DMA Act and why it didn't work. So if you're interested in that, you can scan the QR code right. Moving on to compatible devices. iOS 27 is compatible with the iPhone 11 and newer, so that's pretty awesome that it's still going back all the way there. iPadOS is a weird one. It's compatible from the iPad 9th generation and newer, but it raises the floor to the M2 chip for other devices. So your iPad Air will need an M2 or later to be compatible. The iPad Pro is compatible from the 4th generation and up. macOS is Apple Silicon only. We knew that. That was announced last year. So from M1 and onwards, you are compatible with macOS 27. WatchOS drops the Series 8 and the first generation Apple Watch Ultra. So we're looking at Series 9 and newer. And tvOS drops the Apple TV HD and the 4K first generation from 2017. So you need a second generation Apple TV 4K or newer. Asterisk to all this, if you want to run the more powerful on-device models, you will need more recent systems. So for iPhone, that's the iPhone Air or 17 Pro. For the iPad, it's everything with M4 or later. For the Mac, it's everything with M3 or later. So that's probably just a memory thing. You will need some more memory to run those more powerful models. For the devices that are not in this list, it will reach out to private cloud compute and do its calculations there. So you're not out of features, but it's just not on device in that regard. And that was it for most people. Many people think this was the keynote. Now, there were a lot of hidden updates and nuggets that Apple shared. And if we pull those up, like I said, it's a maintenance release, right? But I got excited when I saw independent alarm volumes. I can now put my
Absolutely.
alarm very loud and have
Mhm.
everything else very quiet. If you're in your car with CarPlay, you will be able to use video playback when you're stationary. That's new. Apple Maps flyover getting a visual upgrade. That's okay, I guess. Photos can now actually make a slideshow. I still don't understand why we couldn't do that before, but that's new. There's a redesigned podcast app, new dynamic app grid on WatchOS. And the way that Apple kind of announced this was weird. They just put up this slide, and these are all the new features that are coming. There are like more than 100 on here. And if I zoom in on what I think is cool, so you have those faster stuff, right? Faster AirPlay connections, more relevant spotlight suggestions is handy. Audio scrubbing and CarPlay, we didn't have that, so that's cool. Better battery life on Apple Watch, so that better battery is always a good stuff. Together with better battery insights, so your calculations on your battery should be better as well. Power efficiency is a topic on all OSs, so that should improve across the board. You have that improved Wi Fi connection coming to your Apple Watch, for example. Small stuff like faster HomeKit accessory pairing that can really take a long while. I recently paired like 4 sensors and that took 30 minutes, so that should be a little bit better now. Um, you have automatic retry of sending failed messages, which again is something that's weird that we didn't have that, but it's welcome. An equalizer for your AirPods is something that many people have been asking for a very long while. Um, I like all the faster stuff. So the AirDrop recipient discovery, faster app launches. You can now stream DRM video when iPhone mirroring. So if you launch a video that's protected by DRM on your iPhone, you can now actually mirror it, which is cool. Um, yeah, many good stuff across the board. So let's take a look at a couple of those features in a live demo, and I hope everything will go well. So let's try that. This is my iPhone. If I, let's start with something easy. If I open up my Photos app and I take a picture from my son, I can now press the edit button and then go to tools and I can reframe it. So this is using the depth information that's on that picture. And then I can try to move it a little bit. So I like this better, and then I can press reframe and it will reframe my picture. The actual actions take a while to complete, right? But you get the gist. I'm gonna cancel this one and go out of it. Let's take another picture. This one is cute. He was in his bathtub. So if we go back to the tools, we can extend it. So you see that the swimming pool is kind of cropped off. I can zoom out. I can press extend. And if it likes what it's doing, it's trying to fill in all that information. So it should add a little bit of grass to the right side. It should complete the swimming pool bands, some more tiles on the floor. Like I said, it takes a while, but this is the very same that if you would try it like with ChatGPT or something on your Mac, it will take just as long. So let's see what it does here. There we go. And it's filled in pretty good, right? The photo was extended correctly. Let's go out of that. Yes, we discard. Let's go back here. Passwords. If we go to passwords and I unlock it, I have quite a few issues here. Compromised passwords across the board. That's not good. So I can try to automatically fix it. And I haven't tried this before. So let's start. Let's say, yeah, that's all good. Fix, allow. And it will now try to do those things. So it's actually signing into my LinkedIn account It will change my password there and it will go back out. And I should have tried this before because I don't know how long it will take. But it's like now it's waiting for a verification code to come in. So that should be a text message that's arriving. Um, it's navigating back to the website. Did not receive code. Okay, so I'm guessing that it won't be able to do everything. But you get the gist. This should get better as the betas go forward. So let's cancel out of that. Um, go away. What was else? Shortcuts. So if I try to create a shortcut and I put a new one, I can describe what I want to do. So I can say, create a shortcut to tell my wife when I'm getting home, when leaving the office around 5 p.m. Put my navigation to home and start my personal Apple station, Apple Music station. And then I give it that. It will think about that and it will prompt me with some questions. So it's finding what it can do. It's finding my wife. That's weird. It's finding my home. Finding birth station. Okay. You couldn't find my wife. Okay, that's not bad. So let's pick someone. Zeno, you're my wife now. That's good.
Wonderful.
You didn't see Zeno's number. It's thinking. Here we go. We tested this just before the webinar and then it couldn't find my home, but it could find my wife. So it's pretty hit or miss right now. Again, should get better during the betas, but it's very cool that you can create that shortcut because if you look at what it actually did, it's getting my driving time from my current location to my home. It's sending a message to Zeno and it's then opening Apple Maps with a routing to my home and starting my playlist. So that's pretty cool, I guess. I cannot demo anything of the Siri, so that's unfortunate. And I've noticed, and I don't think this is a feature, but this message here at the top about indexing doesn't go away. So it's doing something in the background that doesn't really work yet. And that's why we test, right? So that's feedback that I already gave to Apple. Moving on, there are quite some things as well that came to Apple Business and Apple School Manager. So specifically, there are new API endpoints you can query. Very much more importantly, there are now, or there will be, VPP app subscriptions available. So since ever, if you had an app where you needed a subscription for certain features, you were out of luck if you're using a volume purchase program. Now you will be able to subscribe to those subscriptions and give that to a person in your team. So that's really awesome. I guess this will also allow people to purchase the whole media thing from Apple. I forgot the name.
Oh, the Creator Studio.
Creator Studio, that was it. So that's really cool that that's coming to Apple. And also you have additional device details, and I think that's very welcome, especially for schools that have a lot of replacement iPad, for example. You will be able to see the replacement history in Apple School Manager and in Apple Business. So you can see the original serial number, when it was swapped, and to what serial number. So you have all that data now in your School Manager and Business tenants. New stuff for enterprise. Declarative device management is no longer the future, but it's the present. We had a lot of payloads becoming available for DDM. So you can now start testing that out. I know that in Jam, for example, you can make custom declarations that are not in the UI yet. And Jamf also has a free app in the App Store available for everyone. So even if you're not using Jamf, called DDM Explorer. So you can see the new declarations, what they should do, and you can then play with that already a little bit. You will be able to remotely collect logs for Apple Care, which is very handy for anyone that has like an Apple Care for Enterprise contract. So you can query those logs and capture that automatically. There are changes to the backup and restore on iOS and iPadOS. So we're not actually restoring an old management profile, which is great. Enhancements to return to service. So that should work a little bit better. And then many changes to a platform single sign-on. I've been playing around with PSSO for Microsoft Entra lately, and that works well. But now it does no longer require an app on the device. So it can do anything just with the web page that's coming up. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that Google will actually implement platform single sign-on now. And then enhancements, right? You can require Touch ID as in multi-factor authentication for PSSO at every stage, also at the file vault and lock screen, which is very nice. And you will also be able to use authenticated guest modes, so with guest accounts, to unlock file vault volumes. So those are all very nice things coming to enterprise. In education, we have two new things coming to Apple Classroom called guided browsing. So you'll be able to limit which websites a student is navigating to. And it will also support multi-app mode when you're logging out of apps. So in the past, that was limited to only one app. Now you can give them access to a couple of apps. Assessment mode is coming to macOS, and I will show a very short demo in the next slide. And authenticated guest mode is coming to shared iPad. So if we're looking to that assessment mode, it's very easy. You can lock a Mac into one certain app, and then the pupil can only use that to do their exams, for example. And even if they press any other buttons, you can remove many of them, and otherwise, like menus and stuff, won't respond unless it's about that app, which is very cool. And then authenticated guest mode for iPad. I think that's a welcome exchange for many schools that are using shared iPad. You will now be able to log into your, for example, Microsoft account and have that temporary user created without having to set a passcode or anything. So you are signed in to the device temporarily, and when you sign out, it will remove all your data. So you have SSO tokens, you can navigate to everything, and otherwise, when you sign out, all your data is gone again. So there we go. There was one more bento box being shared, but I think we covered most of this. There are some other additions that are nice when you're managing Apple devices. For example, package uninstalls and your settings for that. You can now easily allow and deny binaries to be run. These are all very nice quality of life improvements coming to Mac management. And these are also things that you need to test with before the OS releases. Going to pull up three QR codes. The first one on the left is the actual WWDC26 keynote you can watch. The second is a playlist specifically for what's new in business and education. So those are videos talking about those changes for enterprise, talking about the assessment mode for macOS, talking about VPP subscriptions, and some other stuff. So it's definitely worth scanning that middle QR code to see that. And the right one is for the OS previews. So that just navigates to apple.com/OS, where you can read what's new in all the OSs. And it's pretty much Siri all the things, but you can still take a look. Last but not least, this was the final keynote, probably presented by Tim Cook, who is passing on the CEO title to John Turnus after being 15 years of CEO. John Turnus has been at Apple since 2001, and since 2021, he was responsible for the entire hardware division. Right? Tim Cook isn't leaving Apple; he's still executive chairman of the board. But so I guess from the next keynote onward, which should be the iPhone event, I'm guessing in September, it should be John Turnus doing that presentation. And with that, I'm open for questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Jordi. I will activate my camera again. Thank you very much for the presentation today. A lot of new stuff. Actually, now I'm excited, more excited than at the beginning of the webinar, of course. And actually, yesterday we had an event with Apple, and we discussed even the new things and the improvements, etc. I'm actually happy that the system is more fluent and stable. So looking forward to test that, absolutely. But of course, each year we get same questions. They didn't announce hardware, of course. It's a WWDC. Never in the history of the last years, they never launched hardware. But maybe we could find something in the codes or in the launches.
Actually, if you Look at the videos, there are quite a few Easter eggs. For example, you saw in the whole list of features, one of them specifically says pull down to refresh on macOS, which can just be a feature of your touchpad, but many people are hoping on a Mac with a touchscreen. I've seen things for MacBook Ultra and stuff. I don't know. We never are informed of that, but that would be cool. They have been consolidating macOS and iPadOS together, so a Mac with a touchscreen would be cool.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you also had a demo of the new Xcode with agentic agents. So you can create your app via Xcode just by talking to it. And they demoed the fact that you can easily resize an iPhone app. So you can have it vertical, and then you can stretch it to be horizontal, which can just be cool for an iOS app that runs on both iPhone and iPad. It can also mean a foldable is finally coming. That was nice. There were a lot of small things like that in the
Yeah.
keynote, but I don't know. The next hardware should probably be September somewhere. So we'll see.
Yeah, probably. It will be September first summer, and then we'll get a new launch of products, of course. So, guys, if you have any questions, just put them in the Q&A. Um, Very nice that we saw also the live demo already. Did you find for the people that are following, you told it already, just test it on an extra device, not on your product on productivity device that you use in production. But what are the apps that you say that doesn't work at the moment because it's still buggy?
Mostly, I haven't had any apps not working on me. Last year on iPhone, there was an issue with its me. There was an issue with banking apps. There were a whole lot of things that did not work. This year, all of that works on beta one. Let's hope it stays that way. For us internally, we use FileMaker. That works. We use Sentinel One. That works. Everything in Jamf works. The Office suite works. I had a couple of bugs. For example, my windows suddenly disappear. So
Mhm.
I'm talking in Teams, for example, and my whole team window disappears. Teams is still running. People still hear me, but I cannot press any buttons. I had my login window disappear on me quite a couple of times,
Mhm.
where I then cannot log into my Mac. I need to forcibly shut it down. But do as I say, not as I do. Don't test this on your personal devices. Use a test machine. There's currently an issue that you cannot create a virtual machine.
Mhm.
Apple is looking into that, but yeah, have a test machine and test it out.
Yeah, absolutely. No, wonderful. And actually, in July, the first public beta
Yep.
will be launched, so that will be stable, and then it's more logic that you use it
Yep.
on a personal
So
device.
so currently you need either a developer account or a managed Apple account. And if you then open your system settings and your organization allows it because that can be restricted,
Mhm.
you can sign in with that account and it will offer you the developer betas or the Apple Seed for IT betas. And you can still test the betas of OS 26, which are also still available, or you can put the slider to OS 27 and do that. From July, you'll be able to log in with your personal Apple account and you will be offered the public beta.
Okay, wonderful. We already received a question that's from Michael. How likely is it that it's about Siri AI? Amazing features that are going to be available on Mac, of
Mac,
course.
yes.
But of course, when will it be available on iOS? Will it happen?
We have had this situation in the past where there was an ongoing regulatory discussion between Apple and the
Hmm.
European Union, and that got resolved. So I'm guessing they will try and do the same again. Um, but yeah, I was asked not to elaborate too much
Yeah.
on that, so I'm not gonna express my opinion on it. But I'm pretty sure it will come someday. And on Mac, for me, I got it on the waiting list for quite a while. To test it, you need to be on a
Mhm.
waiting list, and then it got approved. But now I get a lot of errors that say this doesn't work. So it's something to that they still need to look into. But I'm hoping that it comes to the European Union soon.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. Yesterday I had also the discussion. Now they started with the English version, but we tried it yesterday on another device, and we did it in Dutch, and it worked fluently.
It depends what you're trying to do. So, like certain features that are specifically Siri AI based will require English, but when it goes out and tries a model, for example, a language model to rephrase or whatever, it will be compatible with Dutch. I
Mhm.
think they showed two slides. So Siri AI is English only. The other AI stuff, Dutch was in the list of languages that are supported.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. So, yeah, hopefully it will come. We will see. No more information we have. Okay, at this moment we didn't receive extra information of extra questions. My apologies. Of course, the webinar will be available on our YouTube channel, the recording of it. If you have any questions, just shout out to our website, contact form that we have, or info at mail address, or directly maybe to Jordi by
Yeah,
LinkedIn. He's
everyone's
following everyone and everything. And so if you have any questions, just give us a call, shout out to us, and then we can give you an answer, or hopefully we can give you an answer. Of
we
course,
can try.
we can try. Absolutely. It's the first beta that we received today or this week. Looking forward to test the public beta. I will wait until the public beta. And do a lot of marketing stuff with my computer, and it should be a pity if I have some issues with that. But looking forward to test it. I told it already to Jordi. So looking forward to that. I hope you enjoyed the webinar. Thank you very much to attend this webinar. We were with a great group. So thank you for your interest. And hopefully we'll see each other back.
Yeah, see you soon.
See you soon and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you very much.